You can watch all of the affirmation YouTube videos under the sun and repeat those affirmations to yourself day in, day out, but nothing is going to happen until you resolve your inner subconscious blocks. You have to resolve those blocks first before you can reprogram the subconscious mind with all of these beautiful affirmations and open up the gateway for your manifestations to come to fruition. Otherwise, you're just a hamster on a wheel. On today's show of the Nashville Wellness Collective podcast, we have life coach Lindsay Luttrell with her approach to life coaching. I am your host, Unique Cortez. The Nashville Wellness Collective is an online directory and resource with a large list of health and wellness practitioners in the Nashville area that span from Eastern to Western practices and everything in between. So, whatever kind of practitioner you are looking for or interested in learning more about, the Nashville Wellness Collective is here to help. Visit us at thenashvillewellnesscollective.com and watch or listen to all of our podcasts, read our blog articles, and much more. Whatever part of your health and wellness journey you are on, the Nashville Wellness Collective has you covered from east to west. We'd appreciate it if you'd go ahead and tap that like button, as it really helps the channel. And feel free to leave us a rating. We love to hear your feedback. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. And if you'd like to be a guest, visit our website, thenashvillewellnesscollective.com. Now, into the world of life coaching, tackling the subconscious blocks in your mind and reprogramming the mind for success. Without further ado, I give you life coach Lindsay Luttrell. Thank you for being on the show today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. So I just gave a brief introduction, but do you mind giving us a deeper dive as to who you are, what you do?
Yeah. Okay. So I got started on this path probably about 7-8 years ago. I've always been fascinated with human behavior. Like even in elementary school, I would wonder why certain kids didn't do their homework and why certain kids wouldn't like answer questions. I've always even at a young age been interested with that. People find it really easy to just share information with me. Like no matter where I go, Europe, here, anywhere, like I'll just be sitting at the bar or at a restaurant and the table next to me or the person next to me will just give me their whole life story.
That's a gift.
Yeah. And so between those two things, that's what kind of led me to life coaching, but I didn't know it that was what I wanted to do because obviously it really wasn't like a big thing. In college, I was a psychology major.
Oh, nice.
And all of my professors really wanted me to go to grad school, but I just didn't come from a family of money and I didn't want a lot of student debt, student loan debt. So I toggled between sales, serving tables and bartending for 10 years.
Nice. Okay.
And then, you're talking to people, you're listening to them, right? So you're still kind of doing the same skill set, right?
Yep.
Building relationships. And that led me to the next 10 years of my life. I sold booze, wine, beer, spirits to bars and restaurants around Nashville.
Okay.
Still sat down, listened to people, talked, build relationships, right? Just in like a different dynamic. And around 34, I was doing a lot of my own self-discovery work. And I just felt like I wasn't adding value to the world like I wanted to. I mean, getting people buzzed, that has its own value.
Sure does.
But I was feeling pulled to step out of that career. And I fought it for a really long time because I was so comfortable and the money was good and it was so fun. And then one day I just kind of had like a breakdown and I was like, I have to do something different.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what that was. And I searched and I searched. I didn't want to go back to school, but I was listening to Joe Rogan's podcast.
Love Joe Rogan.
And he had a life coach on there named Christine Hassler. And I listened to her podcast and I was like, that is what I want to do.
Yeah.
And from then I signed up with a course and I did nights and weekends. studying and taking the
Wow.
course. So in addition to my full-time job, I was
Yeah.
so exhausted, but I was so motivated.
Yeah.
And then I did that for a side hustle, and it turned into
The
full-time.
main hustle.
And here I am 7 years later.
Wow.
And I'm constantly doing my work
Yeah.
so that I can up level, so that I can help other people up level.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just been a really beautiful journey.
Wow. What
Yeah.
a blessing.
Yeah.
And I know that moment of you're comfortable and then you don't realize that you're almost keeping yourself stuck in
Yeah.
that area of your life or that portion of your life, but we're meant to grow and excel.
Mm-hmm.
And congratulations
Thank you.
on being fearless. And, or even if you had some fear, you pushed through it
Yes.
anyways and found your flourishing business on the other side of fear, which we'll dive into your approach and your tactic when it comes to being a life coach. What sets you apart and what is your approach? Because I know all life coaches they offer different things. And so what's your approach?
Such a great question. If you had asked me this a few years ago, I would have been lost in telling you. It's taken me such a long time to put into words exactly what I do, because it's a wide range, but it's not exactly what other people think life coaches do.
Okay.
So you kind of caught me at a good time. I spent a lot of time trying to figure that out. So the first thing is that life coaches don't have to be an expert at anything.
Mm-hmm.
They just have to be an active listener, an asker of thought-provoking questions, and they have to be able to connect the dots as their client is speaking.
Yeah.
And really, like, if you're wise and have a lot of life experience, that just adds more value. But as long as you're really good at those three things and you hone those in, you could be a really great life coach. So when I first got started, I did what most people think life coaches do. I worked on goals and plans, and helped people get, unstuck. And then I just realized that the work that I do really shifted the entire trajectory of my life. And I said, this is what I need to be helping other women do. Right? This is where I add value. This is where my wisdom and my experience comes from.
Yeah.
So I put together a program that touches on all the big things that I did in my self-discovery journey.
There you go.
And that's what I'll walk them through. Yeah. But more importantly, there's internal work and then there's external work. So internal work is that, like, looking inside, the self-discovery, the healing. The external work is making sure your body looks, healthy and fit. Right. And so there's there's other places too, but that's kind of the distinction. Okay. And so what I do is looking inward, towards the internal world, because once you get that right, it's going to ripple out into the external world.
I love
that. So you hear a lot of women who have done the weight loss journey, they've lost the weight, and then they can't sustain it.
Or they put it back on.
They don't feel worthy. They don't feel like it's something that they deserve, or they don't feel good enough, right? So had they have done both simultaneously or just started here first, right, then it would have helped them sustain that external a little bit better.
Wow.
So internal world, that's what I do.
Internal. Yeah. Okay. I love that. And you're so right. I feel like that's where it all begins.
It should.
Wow. Even when you think about Abraham Hicks and manifesting and how do you manifest and what is she / the spirit that's channeled through her say, is that it all starts here internally. And that's how you're going to manifest. If you can hold it here, then you can achieve it here. And that's so beautiful that the work you do is internal. I was watching another podcast on YouTube, and it was a panel of, it's that, I forget what it's called, but it's like the premise is to pose a question and find opposing sides and there's people from this side and people from this side, and there's some controversy and there's some traction there. And that's the whole premise, is to have these like deep conversations.
Thought-provoking.
Yeah. And it was like overweight, or in this case, they used the word fat. There were like fat people and healthy, fit people, and the conversation surrounding that. And there was, girl, it got it got juicy.
Heated. Because it
got
is
heated.
such a, they are two opposing,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
lifestyles, experiences.
Very much so.
Yeah.
And there was one guy on the fit side who was like, lack of a better word, complete asshole.
Yeah.
He was just going in on it. And the moderator, even at times, was like, dude, you
need to chill.
Yeah. You stay out of this one, take it down.
Yeah.
And viewers like myself, I mean, I'm picking up my phone and I'm like, okay, who is this guy? Because I need to let him have a piece of my mind. And I was coming from the train of thought that he was coming from the train of thought of, you just do the regimented work and you see the results and that's it. And yes, you can, and you should. And my train of thought was more so yours.
It's not
like,
easy.
It's like, you don't know what that person's been through. No. You don't know what kind of internal damage has been done, or
you hold trauma in the body.
Mm-hmm. I was like, you don't know any of this person's upbringing, and you're sitting here telling them like you can and you have to. It's like, it is not always that easy.
And it's different for men than it is for women in some aspects too. So
for sure.
Yeah. Leave it to a man to tell a woman,
Girl.
In
your approach, I know you have like chapters that you take people through. Mm-hmm. Could you kind of briefly walk us through that? I think there was one in there, if I recall, called Inner Bestie, Inner Bully.
Yes.
But if you don't mind just kind of taking us through your chapters, and then we'll touch on the.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I'm trying to see if I can remember them. So Inner Bestie, Inner Bully is the first. And then we go to what's called Back to the Roots, which is just an in-depth look at your relationship with your parents.
Oh.
And then we hit on limiting beliefs.
Okay.
So identifying limiting beliefs and starting the process of changing them.
Yeah.
Then it jumps into thoughts. So this one is kind of woven through the entire program, managing your self-talk, your inner voice, the way that you speak to yourself. After that one,
well, we don't want to give all the secrets away.
Yes. Sorry, I thought you said walk me through those.
No.
So those are the first four. But so Inner Bestie, Inner Bully. That's the first one. And I make everyone do that one, even if they come to me to not do the program, to just do straight coaching, they always do this one.
Okay.
So Inner Voice. Inner voice is the voice you hear internally that talks all day, never shuts up. The thing about your inner voice is it's always going to be with you. She's never going to go away.
Yeah.
And so you have to learn how to manage her.
Yeah.
Because she's going to be with you all day. Just talking. Yeah. Right? Talk. So when you learn how to manage her, you take your control back. Right? Because when you aren't aware of your inner voice and she's the one that's talking to you all day, telling you things that you don't really want to hear, she's in control. So when you learn about her and you start to manage her, you take your control back. So I break the inner voice into two parts, the inner bestie and the inner bully. The inner bestie is the voice you were born with.
Nice.
She is kind, loving, supportive. If you think about children, right? Yeah. They're so confident. They're so free-spirited. And they're not aware of any flaws, right? And so the voice that they're hearing is like, I can do this and I can be anything.
Yeah.
The inner bully is the voice that I call it your imitation inner voice. So that's the voice that was created after years of exposure to other people TV, social media, societal standards, really even like what your parents teach you, teachers, classmates. She is, and I say she because I only work with women, but he too, if it's a male.
Whatever applies.
So she is your inner bully. She's critical. She's pessimistic. She's overbearing. And anytime you're not speaking to yourself kindly, that's your inner bully. Okay. Period. Right? Because your inner bestie would never talk to you like that.
Right.
So that's how you identify that that's your inner bully.
Okay.
And the really wild thing is, as you get older, the more exposure you get to the external world, your inner bully gets louder. And your inner bestie gets more quiet. And so I try to reconnect you to your inner bestie, because that's really what you want to hear most of the time. It's not feasible to think that you're going to hear her all day, every day, right? Because the inner bully is very overbearing and strong, but you want to try to hear your inner bestie most of the time.
Oh my gosh, why does that get me emotional?
I know.
Thinking about children, like you said, and I'm always thinking like, we should view the world through the lens of the child's eye more. More.
They're just so innocent and authentic and genuine. And I mean, I see it with my little boy every day. Like, he's just this pure ray of joy.
Yeah. I know. I'm getting
I know. I'm hearing it. I'm just like, oh.
And then I think of this Christina Aguilera song where it's called Voice Within. And she is like speaking to her younger self. And she's like,
I gotta listen to that.
It starts off with like, young girl, don't cry.
Oh my gosh.
So definitely recommend you listen to that one. So we've learned how to identify based on what you just told me. I know now I can think of my own thoughts and identify that inner bully, and I can identify my inner bestie when I'm telling myself, get it, girl.
She's your like personal hype woman.
Yes, she's in there. And would you say that with more acknowledging this inner bully bestie, are we becoming more self-aware? And what happens in our lives when we do become more self-aware?
Yeah, awareness is the catalyst. It's the tiny spark. It's that little seed that starts it all. Yeah. Because without awareness, you can't change it. There's a funny story. This was years ago, but I was walking through the mall, through the makeup section, just minding my business. I was not looking for makeup, and this sweet little makeup lady stopped me and she asked me if she could fill my eyebrows in. And I was like, what? I was so confused. Now, given she was right, because my little Pamela Anderson.
Okay, the line.
Right? Remember, she was the thing in the 90s. I overplucked. And they were so sad looking. Oh, but I had not thought about my eyebrows ever.
Okay.
And they sat on my face, and I looked in the mirror every day, but I was not aware that they were sad looking until makeup lady told me. And this was like the start of like, bigger, more manicured eyebrows, right?
Okay, yes.
And so after she pointed that out to me, every time I looked in the mirror, I was reminded of how sad my Pamela Anderson eyebrows looked.
Oh, no.
Right? But it was now in my awareness, right? Before then, it wasn't in my awareness.
Yeah.
So the point is, until something is brought into your conscious awareness, you can't address it. So like, thanks to makeup lady, my eyebrows are much less sad looking, right? I was able to address them.
Beautiful.
Right? But before, I look back at pictures and I'm like, how did I not see it? Okay. But I didn't.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing with self-discovery work. When you start doing self-discovery work, you uncover things
Wow.
You bring them into your awareness.
Mm-hmm.
And once you see them, you can never unsee them. So that then becomes like, once you see it, you're like, well, I got to fix this.
Yeah.
Right? How did I not see it before? I have to fix this. So that is what awareness is. And that is what awareness is, literally like the spark of your journey. Because once you see something, you can never unsee it. And then it becomes like your work with your life coach or with yourself or with your husband or whatever. It then becomes your work to address these things that are now in your awareness.
Wow. Wow. What a great story. That's something so small and simple, but a great example. You were not aware.
I looked at every day and was not even in any remote way aware that my eyebrows looked like a little thin rainbow.
So how do you suggest people that are listening, watching right now, thinking, there's probably a lot of things I'm not aware of. How do I become aware of what I'm not aware of?
Great question. It's being brave enough to hire a coach, a therapist, a mentor. That's a really good way because you get like a third person perspective. Also books. So if you're struggling in your marriage or in your relationship with your mother, or, maybe the same patterns are showing up in jobs, get a book more specific to that sort of thing, or just get a general self-discovery book and just start from there. And something's going to resonate. Something's going to appear. Something's going to show up and you're going to say, oh, I think that's me.
Right.
Or I do that.
Okay.
So maybe honest conversations with people that you trust, friends, parents, if you have a good relationship with them, spouses, right? It's like, hey, is there maybe anything that you think is something that I could do better, right? And just prepare yourself, right?
Yeah.
Just dig in and just take what it is and know that it's coming from love, right? But those would be like maybe some good ways to start.
That's excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you. And your following chapter so that first part is the self-awareness and hearing that inner voice of bestie and bully. And then the next chapter was the roots.
Yeah. It's called Back to the Roots, but it's really a deep dive with your parents.
Okay.
So there's always a big disclaimer at the beginning in the exercise that I send and in the session where I say, hey, this is not to blame or judge your parents. This is not like an attack on your parents or your childhood. We are just trying to understand why you are the way you are and why you do certain things.
Yeah.
So there's a big disclaimer, right? It's just like, hey, our goal is to identify patterns and maybe where you pick stuff up. It's not to like attack your parents, right? Amen. But the way we get that information is by looking at your childhood. Because you think children, again, they're developing their little brains and their bodies and their emotions, they're forming. And they're influenced by their environment. And who are the two main people in their environment? It's the parents, right? So if you think about I feel like we're the first generation that's taking what we liked from our parents and saying, I'm going to do that, but leaving what they don't like.
I like that.
My parents, their parents, and all the way back, they're parenting the way they were parented.
Yep.
My mama did this, so this is what I do, right? My daddy did this is what I'm going to do. So the way that they're parenting you or the way that they parented you is really just how their parents parented them. And when you can see that and have just a little bit of compassion for them in the realm of hey, they're just doing what they were taught.
Yeah.
It can help a little, but I digress. So children are forming, they're being influenced And if you can identify things that were said to you or behaviors that you watched your parents do, you can say like, that's where that's coming from.
Yep.
Right? I had a client who, this one always sticks out to me because it was the biggest aha moment that I've ever had in all 7 years of coaching. So her parents were separated. Her dad was not in her life in the very beginning. Okay. But as of us coaching, they were very close. So he did start to show up. Nice. But the parents had divorced at a pretty young age for her. And she said, I have had lots of boyfriends and they've all been like pretty good guys. They've never cheated on me or lied to me. Only a couple were duds, but they just were unmatched. Right.
Right. Okay.
And so she was like, I'm not really sure why, but I just don't trust men. And, I'm looking at my past relationships and none of these guys ever did anything knowingly to make me not trust them, but still I just don't trust men. So we look at like her background and so I start asking her questions. And I said, was your dad nice to your mom? Oh no. So they didn't have a good relationship. Oh no. Well, is that something that she talked about a lot? She said, oh gosh, yes. She talked about it all the time. She said that, don't trust a man, don't rely on a man, right? And she stopped and she froze and all the light bulbs went off and she was just like, oh my gosh. And in that moment, I had to point out to her that what was happening was her mama was trying to protect her. And she didn't want the same thing to happen to her, happen to her daughter that happened to her. So her intention was protection. Yeah. But what happened was the opposite. Oof. So she learned that the one man that a daughter is supposed to rely on, which is her father, was not reliable. And it was enforced all day, every day by mama. Yeah. So subconsciously, right? She's like, don't trust a man. That's all she heard. Don't trust a man. Don't trust a man. And so she didn't. Yeah. She's like, I don't trust any of you. Wow. And another thing that's interesting that I just recently learned is that, so children go through different brain states as they develop. So for example, when they're really, really small, they're in like a delta brain state. Okay. Think about delta. It's like sleep, right? They're sleeping a lot. And then they eventually graduate to, theta and alpha. I don't know the correct order. Yeah. But theta and alpha are, so that's your subconscious. That's when you're really tapped in your subconscious, right? And that's when children are essentially recording. Programming. Yeah. They're recording everything that they see and everything that they hear. Yeah. And it's like downloading into their subconscious. Wow. So if that's what mama was saying about men, that's what's playing for her, right? So you think about the subconscious is the internal hardwire of a computer. Yeah. And your conscious, it's all the windows that you see on the screen. But the subconscious or the internal hardwire of the computer, it's constantly going all the time and playing and it's running the show of the computer. But all you see are the windows. Yeah. So your limiting beliefs. Wow. Right? Those are constantly running on a program and you don't even see it. Wow. So that kind of segues into, is your next chapter limiting beliefs? Wow. That's so seamless. I just built. Yeah. Yeah. How it ties in perfectly because that's where our limiting beliefs would come from. It's from the roots when we take it back and we think back. So how do you go about
how would one go about in their daily lives if they're thinking like, well, what are my limiting beliefs? How can they distinguish what limiting beliefs are when they maybe pop up in their thoughts? Like, how does that,
Yeah.
or is it they pop up when you're doing the root work and going back?
Yeah.
Is it a little bit of both?
Yeah. Limiting beliefs are so tricky
Yeah.
because they're not conscious.
Oh, that's so hard.
They're
Yeah.
not, right?
That's why we need you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It's like, come on, let me just like help you lay it out.
Yeah.
The first thing you want to do is bring them into your conscious, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it is tricky.
Mm-hmm.
I personally believe
Mm-hmm.
that a limiting belief is a thought that you kept telling yourself until it became your truth,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
Because it all starts with your thoughts. It
Yeah.
all starts with your thoughts. So if you're constantly thinking something over and over and over and over again,
Mm-hmm.
and you're looking for confirmation of it out into the world, which you will always find.
Mm-hmm.
And so you tell yourself like, see, right? See?
Yeah.
And then over and over again, consciously, your subconscious is like, cool.
Yeah.
So it latches on and then it starts playing it
Again.
again and again and again over and over again.
Oh my gosh.
And it's running the show.
Yeah.
So until you bring something conscious,
Yeah.
you're like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
there it is. So you have to work on a limiting belief consciously and subconsciously. I think you have to attack it from both
Yeah.
areas.
So for somebody listening, watching right now, they could take a look at their lives, take stock, take inventory, and ask themselves, am I always complaining about health issues? Am I always complaining about not having enough money? Am I always complaining about not finding my special person? Um, those things have already manifested in their reality. And so would that be maybe a good place for them to start and be like, oof, let me
Sure.
digress from there. Let me break it down.
Absolutely. And to even more simply, you could just look up like what are the top limiting beliefs
Mm,
and just kind of see which ones kind of resonate with you. Cause like
yeah.
you'll read it and you'll be like, ooh,
Yeah.
like that one feels kind of icky, like, or that one feels right. Or you might get an emotional reaction. Like we were talking about money. Everyone learns things about money growing up,
Mm-hmm.
right? We learn it from our parents. We learn it from, our personal experiences with money.
Mm-hmm.
And so money is always like a really big one. People always
Yeah.
have some sort of limiting belief around money.
Yep.
And one that I've been working on personally with myself is that I have to, like, I can't have a lot of money or I can't have more money unless I work really, really hard and a lot. And so what I heard over and over again as a child is that you have to work hard. You have to work
Yeah.
super hard. You have to bust your ass.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the only way that you're going to get money.
Mm-hmm.
And while there are certain times in your life that you have to work really, 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 really hard,
Sure.
like you shouldn't have to bust your ass forever. Like,
Yeah.
right? You shouldn't.
Right.
And your 20s is a great place to bust your ass and
Yeah.
hustle and work,
For
right?
sure. Yeah.
But as you get older, like your nervous system can't continue to like
Mm-hmm.
handle that.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why it's important for you to figure out like, what are some things that are going to be easier on my body that I enjoy? Or what are things that
Yeah.
are more aligned with me where I can have more ease
Yeah.
as I'm earning money, right?
Yes.
And it's a lot of work that goes into it. And it's
Yeah.
not easy. And I'm not saying that that's going to be something that everyone's going to be able to figure out rather quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But for me on my journey, I busted my ass in
Mm-hmm.
my teens and my 20s, and I worked double shifts and I worked overtime, and sometimes I didn't even get paid for it. And I was constantly working and working,
Wow.
and I was getting burned out
Yeah.
over and over again.
Yeah.
And so I'm working on that limiting belief that like, hey, I don't have to do that in order to get money.
Yeah.
Right? There are other things that I can do that are more aligned with me. Yes, there are moments where I have to pick it up and bust my ass a little bit, but I don't have to work 50 hours a week just to make money.
Right. Yeah. Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
I'm right there with you. I was the exact same way. Hustle and bustle. I was always taught like work hard. I was like, okay.
Yes.
Like, and then
Work
now
to
I'm
the
like,
bone.
wait, what? Like, no more.
Like, it doesn't feel good to have
Right.
to, you know, and I realize some people actually, like, I don't know if you follow human design at all,
Love
but
it.
I'm a projector.
Okay.
And so I wasn't made to be like a worker bee or a workhorse. Like my nervous system, like it's just not designed for that.
Yeah.
I think manifesting generators and generators, they are like, they have so much energy, and that's like, they find joy in that. And like, good for you. Like I love, like I have generator friends, and I love watching them just like, they love working 50 hours a week. Right.
Yeah.
And like, go you. But I know that I'm not designed that way.
Yeah.
And I was taught that that's how everyone is.
Yeah.
And so,
can you tell me a little bit about, this might be off topic, but, and maybe I'll edit it out, but maybe I'll just keep it. But you said you're a projector. Can you tell me a little bit more about what that means? I vaguely know about human design, and I did hear that projectors. I did. I don't know much. I know I'm a manifesting generator, and so I know that I am like a go, go, go type of person. And what I was told is that I'm good in the pivot. And they're like, so no matter, you could have a million businesses. You can start new businesses every day. And like,
lots of pots on the stove burning at once.
And she's like, and you'll be fine. And you're going to thrive. And I was like, oh, okay.
Yes.
And then she told me shortly about the projector. And she was like they hone in, and like they can diagnose anything. And like they can look at your business, and they'll come in and tell you exactly where it needs help, where it needs improvement. And I was like, and that's so perfect for what you're doing now.
Yeah. So projectors are like lighthouses.
Okay.
Right? So they shine really bright.
Yeah.
They have a lot of wisdom. They have a lot to share. They guide people, right? Guiding the ships in. They guide people. They're really good at systems, which is why she said that like someone, like they have like an aerial view.
Yeah.
So they can look down and say, this is the best way for you to go. Yeah. Or this is the best journey for you. Or, hey, if I were you, I would do it this way. Yeah. Because they just have more of that aerial view as the lighthouse.
That is so cool.
But the thing with projectors is they have to be invited.
That's another thing she told me.
So like, I can't just go and give all my information and wisdom out for free, because not everybody's going to appreciate it. Because there are some types that are like, like, get out of my business. Yeah. You know? So, but when someone comes to me and says like, what do you think about this?
Yes.
It's like the stars have aligned and I'm like, you want to know what I think? And they're going to appreciate it and they're going to love it. Yes. And there's going to be this really good like connection. So this is why coaching for me is good, because someone comes to me and says like, hey, I want to coach with you.
Yes.
I want to hear your perspective, and I want you to like dig in and ask me these questions and help me get to the root of everything.
Oh my gosh.
But also projectors don't have what's called, like a sacral energy.
Oh, okay.
It's like a whole thing, but because we don't have that like access to sacral energy all of the time, it's like a motor, which generators, manifesting generators, they all have like motors. That's why they have all this energy. Projectors get their energy from the people that they're around. Oh. So like when I'm in a session or like right now, my aura is tapping into your aura and like we're sharing energy. Like we're feeding off of the same generator.
Yeah. Oh, that's so cool.
I know. It's kind of woo woo, but I love the woo woo. So
same. I'm here for it.
But now that I am leaning in to my projector ways, part of being a projector is like not hustling.
Yeah.
It's being in the flow and being
Yes.
in ease and doing what you love and trusting that the money is going to come.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And
So-
guiding, I love the guiding light.
Yeah,
That is perfect. That's a
It is
perfect
perfect.
example. And how you said it's like when the ships are coming in, you know how to guide them.
I'm like, hey, you
Yeah.
could go this way and you'll get there like that. Or you can go this way and you'll get there in 2 weeks.
Wow.
But they get to decide. They're
Yeah.
steering the ship.
Yeah.
So they can either say, you know what? Like, fuck it. I want to learn the hard way. And they're going to go around. And it's
Yeah.
like, cool. Do
Yeah.
you, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, we just say like, here's what we see.
Yeah.
And also here's what we've experienced. Because
that wisdom
projectors
too.
experience a lot of things. Like
Wow.
I was put on this planet to experience a lot of things, gain a lot of wisdom, and then share it with people.
Wow.
So I've lived a very colorful life. I've had a lot of different experiences.
Oh, that's so great.
And so I'm able to speak to my experiences and kind of what I learned.
Yeah.
And their own projectors are also like always thirsty for knowledge and information, and they're always learning.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is me as well.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
Yeah.
I'm going so off topic. Sorry.
I love that stuff too.
Yeah.
So,
and then when you say thirst for knowledge, it reminds me of another like ancient study, but numerology and the number 7 and how they're seekers of knowledge and they have so much wisdom. So I'm almost curious to know if a lot of projectors have that 7
like
energy,
somewhere in it.
Yeah, resonating within them.
Interesting. I'm going to look that up. I don't know. I gotta see.
I'm into all of the things. Okay, so we touched on back to the roots and we touched on childhood teachings and how you were saying that you like how this generation is we're taking what serves us and letting go of what doesn't and just being self-aware of where those teachings came from. When we can diagnose ourselves like that and we can pinpoint, then we can grow. So making ourselves self-aware of things that in the beginning, like I said, I was like, oh, that's difficult. How do you become aware of something you're not like consciously aware of? But that was an excellent way to, there you go. That's how you discover it. And then you said that sometimes our limiting beliefs come from that, from what we were programmed with as children.
Yep.
And they affect us today. And then we touched on how somebody can kind of take stock or inventory and say like, oh, I struggle in this department, in this area of my life, in this area of my life. And then they can kind of trickle back and take that journey back to their roots and discover where did that stem from. And how would one, so now they've discovered, okay, this is where it stemmed from. I know, I see it now. My dad was a penny pincher. He would always say like at the grocery store, well, I'm gonna get this one because it's cheaper. Like using those words.
And you hear
too.
that
and you hear
and over
and over and over. So now I've distinguished it. I know where it's coming from. So now what is the work moving forward to kind of dissolve that limiting belief?
It's such a long process.
Okay.
But it's doable.
Yeah.
But it took years to form it. So you're not going to dismantle it in a month or sometimes a year, right? So it's attacking it from 2 different angles, on the subconscious level and on the conscious level. So on the conscious level, and this is just like, there's so much more involved, but this is just like a general way.
Okay.
So on the conscious level, it's it's creating new thoughts that you think over and over and over again until they become beliefs, right? So in conjunction with a goal, right? Or something you're trying to attain, you're telling yourself over and over again, right? Like for me, anytime I feel triggered with money, I stop and I'm just like, okay, like I'm not in lack. I'm not 20 years old anymore. You know, I'm 42. I have money, right?
Right.
I'm not hurting for money like I was in my 20s. Like, hey, we're not there anymore. Like, I'm abundant. Like, I can make money with ease, right? And I tell myself this anytime I feel triggered.
Yeah.
So on the conscious level, I'm recreating a new thought that I'm trying to think over and over again.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
In hopes that eventually it's going to become a subconscious belief. Right. But if you want to, hyperspeed that,
yeah,
you want to put yourself in alpha or theta brain state.
like you mentioned.
And you want to tell yourself on that level too, right?
Mm-hmm.
So part of the work that I do separate, my personal work is with a company called To Be Magnetic or TBM.
Okay.
And it's literally changed my life because that's how I get my subconscious work done. They have what's called deep imaginings, which put you into like a theta or alpha brain state. And she asks you questions about like, you know, it's general, but about a trigger or something that's coming up for you. Like, where did this come from? What memory comes up, right? And you kind of go back to that memory. Ooh. And you can, you know, change the outcome, right? You're not really changing the outcome, but you're telling your subconscious that it went different, right?
Yes.
And you're also like, you're tapping and you're recreating a new thought that you want your subconscious to think. Whoa. So I am attacking it from both levels.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing major shifts with how I think about money.
That's huge.
It's huge.
What is that called again?
To Be Magnetic.
To Be Magnetic.
Yeah. They have a podcast and then they have a monthly subscription that gives you access to all of their things. Wow. And their work for me has been transformative. Yeah. On the subconscious level.
Oh my gosh, that sounds amazing. And what purpose is the tapping? Okay, because I've seen tapping before. I've seen it like on a TikTok video.
Yeah.
And I don't even know what it was for. Maybe it was for the beauty niche. Maybe it was for reprogramming your mind. But it was something to do, like they would tap like in certain points. I really don't know what they were doing. And I would just do it along with them. I don't know. Yeah. But they would tap on certain points of their face. But then I've also seen in like psychologists use this exercise for people they're working with. And they say, if you feel something coming about, you feel that energy coming on, you know, they'll give them a rubber band or something and they'll say like, tap the rubber band on your wrist. So what is the significance of the tapping?
I cannot speak too deeply on the tapping.
Okay.
Because I don't have like all the information.
It's interesting.
But I do know it's like a physiological.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Because it's either telling you that you're safe, right? It's hitting certain like points.
Yeah.
Right? Or it's there. And I think there's something to do with like connecting the right and left side of your brain.
That makes sense.
Right? If you're hitting both sides, I think it like helps put together neural pathways, neural pathways maybe.
Yeah.
I think it's like
because the neurons that like fire together, wire together.
Yes.
So oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Now
so I think it has something to do with that.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So while you're doing this subconscious, like in theta state, going back and reprogramming, you're also like wiring that new thought.
Yeah.
Now it's all making sense. Yeah. Oh my gosh. We just figured it out.
Yes. I'm like, as I'm talking, I'm like, I think it does this. I think it does this. And I'm like, oh yeah, it connects the brain.
Oh my gosh. We just figured that out. So that is an excellent way for people to kind of help dissolve those. I'm hitting my mic too. Help dissolve those limiting beliefs.
Yeah. So, and create new ones in its place. Because that's what you want to do. You, like, even with thoughts, like one of the main things that I tell my clients is when you catch yourself beating yourself up, stop and replace it.
Yeah.
Like, don't allow it to continue.
Yeah.
Because if you're saying like, oh my God, I'm fat over and over again, like you're going to believe that you're fat. But if you stop and say, I love my body, but I would like to improve it.
There we go.
or something like that,
Yeah.
right? You're like, it's like, hey, I'm not fat. I just need improvement.
Yeah.
Or I need some tweaking, or
It
I
feels
could eat
different.
healthier foods, or I can work out more, right? Something like that where you're moving it towards a more constructive, positive, right?
Yeah.
And you're telling yourself that you're like, hey, like I love my body enough to improve it or to work on it or to heal it.
Yeah.
And you're not just like sitting in the mirror saying like, I'm fat.
Right.
You're saying like, hey, like I see you, body.
Yeah.
Like you could use a little bit of work, but I still love you and we're going to do that. Right.
Yeah.
And cause your body hears everything that you say to it anyway. But anytime I catch myself saying something about money, I stop and I change it and I change the thought, and you're not going to catch it every time.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
But when you do, stop, take a breath, and just replace the thought.
Yeah.
Right. Like, hey, I'm not broke.
Yeah.
I'm not broke.
Right.
Right. It's okay.
Yeah.
I'm not broke. I'm choosing to spend my money somewhere else.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I can't buy this because I'm broke. No, I'm choosing to spend my money in a better needed place or something.
Yeah.
Right.
Already it feels better when you change the narrative that you're telling yourself. Just in the examples that you used, I'm fat versus like, okay, I see you. We could do better.
And it's literally what a really good best friend would say to you.
Yeah.
Right. Like if you went to your best friend and said, I'm fat, she wouldn't say like,
you are.
Like she would never say like, yeah, you're so fat. Nor would she say, oh my God, you're so skinny. What are you talking about?
Right.
She would say, I mean, you could do a little bit, but you're not fat. Right. Like a really good best friend's going to tell you the truth. She's going to tell you the truth in a kind way.
Yeah.
So that's what you're doing to yourself, right? You're letting your inner bestie advocate for you, right?
It's so full circle.
And you're not like being unrealistic, right? You're not saying like, I'm skinny. It's like, right? Yeah. You're not going to believe that. You're not going to believe, if you believe that you're fat, you're not going to believe that you're skinny.
Yeah.
So if you're able to say something that's more realistic, it's easier to latch on to.
It's so easy to digest. Thank you for presenting it in such a way, using examples that are eye-opening. And I feel like everything you're saying is giving me those aha moments. And I hope it is for our viewers and listeners as well, because you're absolutely right. Abraham Hicks always says, like, you can't get there from there. And now what she says is making more sense because I'm thinking, yeah, okay, I can't get from I'm fat to that lie of like, no, I'm skinny. I'm skinny.
Yeah. You already believe that you're fat. Like you already do in your core. So you're not going to be able to replace it with like, it's not going to work like that. You have to baby step it, right? You have to baby step it to, hey, I could use a little bit of improvement. I could lose a little bit of weight, right? I could look healthier. I could feel healthier. I could feel better about my body. And then when you start saying that, you start working on those improvements or tweaks to feel healthier or to look healthier. And then you lose a little bit of weight. Yeah. And then you're like, okay. And then you just baby step until eventually you have created this new reality of feeling skinny. Yeah. Or feeling healthier, which I would rather say feeling healthier. Yeah. Because you're talking to yourself in a kinder way. You're treating yourself in a kinder way. You're putting in the work. And eventually you get to believe like, oh my gosh, I look so healthy. I look so much more fit. Yeah. You start to see the small, subtle changes. Because it is. People forget that it's small and subtle. It's not, it's not drastic. Right. Right. Usually when it's drastic, there's backsliding. Because you're not like, the only way to it is through it. Ooh. You can't, you got to get uncomfortable and do the work. Wow. You just can't, you're always going to backslide. Just I love that. There's a lot of women who are taking the shot. It's like, good for you. Do your thing, girl. Do your thing. And a lot of those women are getting off of it and getting the weight back. And so, birth control. No, the like Ozempic and Ozempic. Okay. So it's like good for you. But if you're not doing the work in tandem, if you're not talking to yourself kindly throughout the process, if you're not changing your foods, if you're not also exercising, like the chances of you putting the weight back on after it's like, even though you're getting a quick fix, you can't ignore all the work that you have to do it all while you're getting your quick fix.
So true. Oh my gosh. This episode is filled with so much information and so many sound bites. Oh my gosh, girl, just wait till I do the edits. I love you're not going to get to it without going through it. I was like,
and I didn't make that up, but yeah, I can't take credit for that, but I love it.
So true.
It is really good.
And it's impactful. And I feel like in the world, it doesn't matter who made it up or whatever. It matters, like, you're meant to hear and receive a message at a certain time when God or the universe deems it your time to hear it and receive it. And that was my time to hear it and receive it.
I love it.
And it was like, take me to church. And I hope that the viewers are like, that just took me to church.
Yeah.
Like, girl, you just preached on so much and it's all true and it all resonates. And I'm going to hire you as my coach because I know that you are living in your passion. You're living your truth. I know, especially after finding out you're a projector, that you are doing the work. You are
every
doing
day
what you're meant to do.
Yeah.
And I would not want to take lessons or coaching from anyone who wasn't. You know what I mean? Like,
that's a good point too. First of all, thank you for all that. I'm trying to learn to receive like compliments and all
I'm
the
trying
good
to learn
stuff.
that too.
Yeah. So I'm just like, so first of all, thank you.
You're welcome.
There are a lot of people out there who will slap coach on their name and just like let it ride, right? And they're out on social media and, you know, and like, that's great. But you have to hire someone who resonates with you, who is doing the work, right? And when I see some of these young people online and they're posting on social media every single day and they're in their stories, I just want to say, but when are you coaching?
Yeah.
I mean, like, really?
Yeah.
Like, you're on social media all day, every day. And I know that there's batching content. I do that as well. But the amount of time that they're spending on social media, I'm like, are you in session? Do you have clients?
Right.
Like, are you right? And so you gotta look at that too when you're thinking about hiring a coach, because if they're just spending all day online,
do they have any clients?
Yeah. Are they coaching? You know?
Oh my gosh. I know too well, coming from the content creator, social media management space. And I do see those creators out there that are like, let me tell you how to run the social media management business. And I'm like, you have how many clients? Wait, what are you actually do? Are you actually doing anything for your clients, or you're just batching like that and putting like those templates from Instagram up on their
some examples?
Yeah, like, are you really creating content and managing? Are you even engaging on their social media? You're not. You're not.
It's just like social media is good because there's so much exposure to people and information and things. You know, there's also the dark side of believing everything that you see or hear on it, which is dangerous. And there's a TV show out now, on Hulu, like the Secret Life of Mormon Wives or whatever. And they literally say to you that our social media is fake.
Yeah.
Maybe not their personal ones, right? But they say that she says like, hey, what you see
is not
about us as a group is fake. Right. And I love that about them. I love that they're being honest, and they're like, hey, like, yeah, we kind of put on a show sometimes when we're together. We're not always on the best terms. And they're telling you, they're giving you that information. And I think that's really pertinent for young girls to hear, because they are looking at social media and they're like, this is all real. This is perfect. This is how it is. And it's like, it's not.
Yeah.
It's just not.
taking it as Bible.
Yeah.
And you're like, no, girl.
No. And so I love that these big TikTok stars are saying that. They're like,
out.
hey, it's not always what you see.
Right. Well, I feel like we got so much information and I just wanted to ask, is there any other practitioners in the health and wellness space spanning from east to west?
Oh my gosh.
Could be like breath worker, Reiki, Chiro, could be neuroscientist, anybody else that you would want to be on a podcast with and have a panel of you guys? Like pick 2 or 3 different professions that you're like, ooh, it would be so fascinating if I was on a podcast with these 2 people and we just had a open discussion.
I mean, I'd love Oprah and Dr. Phil.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah.
I mean,
I can get them on the podcast.
I mean, if I could meet any 2 people in the world, like it'd be them.
Perfect.
No, but like, let me come back down from the clouds and,
no, it's good.
you know,
Set
like,
the goals.
I would just love, but, like specific people or just like
professions, like, so.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I would love to be on a podcast or a panel with someone who does, well, yes, energy work. That'd be great, right? Because I think that kind of goes hand in hand. We could talk about how energy is stored in the body and all of that. I would just selfishly love to hear from someone who has, I don't want to say like psychic, but someone who has that power to
discern or
to get messages and
so like
talk
a
to
medium?
angels or mediums or anything in that realm.
Ooh.
I mean, I just feel like that would just be,
that'd be so cool.
Selfishly so cool.
Wow.
Also like a human design reader or expert or something. Like I would love that. Yeah.
Okay. That would be an epic podcast episode.
Be.
So stay tuned because we will make that happen. That's awesome. And before we go, is there any book? So if somebody's watching right now and they're like, oh, it's an hour-long podcast, I don't have time to watch it all. Let me just fast forward to the end and see like what she recommends or what she concludes with.
Yeah.
Is there any sort of book or a blog or something, a resource that you can send people to? They missed this podcast, but you're like, well, this book would really help you. Anything you suggest?
Well, first of all, I have a personal blog. I still read. I don't know if other people still read. So, I love to write. So I have a personal blog that's on my website. But the 2 books that really started it all for me, I'd say started it all because I read a bunch in my 20s, but that really dove me in. There's one called You Are a Badass.
Okay.
And it's by a lady named Jen. Say lady. I call everyone lady. Makeup lady. A woman named Jen Sincero or Sincero. Okay. It's Sincero.
Okay.
But it is motivating. She cusses a little, as do I.
I love it.
I related with that.
Yes.
But she basically just like helps you harness what a badass you are.
I love that.
Just like no matter what.
Yeah.
And then the second one would be The Big Leap.
Okay.
I think the guy's name is Gay Hendricks.
Okay.
I think that's right.
I'll look it up.
But he talks about how everyone, there are 4 upper limit problems, or ULPS, ULPS as he calls it.
Okay.
But you resonate with at least one, if not 2. Mm-hmm. And it just kind of tells you like where you stop. Right? Mm-hmm. Like what it is in the world, like what shows up for you all the time. It's kind of like your ceiling. Okay. And when I read what mine was, I was on this beautiful beach in the Caribbean and I had to put the book down and I started crying and I was like, wow, how did I not see this before? Ooh. How did I not see this before? Right. And so it was brought into my awareness by that book and it changed everything. The Big Leap. The Big Leap. Yeah. So those would be like the 2 books that I would say would be like a good, like toe dip into it.
And where can people find you online? You mentioned your blog. So what's your website?
Yeah. So my website is lifecoachlindsay.com. And I am at Life Coach Lindsay on Instagram. And I'm also Life Coach Lindsay on TikTok.
Okay.
But I kind of post the same things on TikTok and Instagram. But I do more stories and stuff on Instagram.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'll put it all in the show notes so you guys can give her a follow. But before we head out, you told us where to find you online, so be sure to go read her blog. And while they're there, they're going to take a look at your website and they're going to see what you offer. Can you tell us real quick your offerings?
Yeah. So I offer two things. The first is a self-guided course that you can do on your own terms. And it's all about managing your inner voice and your thoughts. So it will tell you, you'll get a better understanding of why you think the way that you do and kind of how that works. And then you'll also get actionable steps to create a more kind and motivating inner voice. And then I do a 7-month program, which is one-on-one sessions with me. And you get 2 sessions, hour-long sessions a month, and you get exercises and curated notes. And that is the step-by-step program that kind of like adds on with starting with the inner bestie and moving on to limiting beliefs. So those are my 2 offerings.
Nice. And do you have any kind of promo code maybe for our listeners?
So if you'd like to do the self-guided course, we'll do $25 off of that. And then if you'd like to do the one-on-one program, we'll do half off your first month.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So come see me.
And the promo code is NWC
333.
333. NWC 333 is the promo code you'll use when purchasing either one of those offerings. And I'll have all of that in the show notes down below. So be sure to check into that. Thank you.
Thank you
so much for being on the show.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Nashville Wellness Collective podcast. And thank you again to Life Coach Lindsay Luttrell for being on the show. Be sure to follow her on social media at Life Coach Lindsay or visit her website, lifecoachlindsay.com, for more information. Remember to use promo code NWC333 for special savings. We'll put all of this info in the show notes. Like, share, and follow us on social media at the Nashville Wellness Collective for exclusive content and giveaways. Give us a follow so you don't miss a single episode. Until next time, the Nashville Wellness Collective has you covered from east to west.